Chosen one, this moment has not found you by accident, nor through idle curiosity, but through divine appointment, orchestrated in perfect timing by heaven itself. What you are hearing now arrives at the very edge of a pivotal shift, where the long season of waiting transitions into fulfillment, and the isolation you've had endured gives way to alignment with your purpose. God has witnessed your quiet faith, your perseverance when comfort seemed distant, and your obedience even when clarity was scarce. You were not stalled, you were protected, preserved for the moment you now stand in, the threshold of a supernatural change. Chosen one, the season approaching carries elevation that cannot be hurried and provision that cannot be earned through effort alone. Heaven is orchestrating a connection designed with intention, maturity, and resources to amplify your calling and reposition your life. This is not a promise fueled by desire, it is the work of divine order. The vision has its appointed time, unfolding exactly as written, unshaken by impatience. What comes will not compete with your calling, diminish your identity, or cause confusion. Instead, it will confirm you, shield you, and propel you forward into prepared ground. Anointed one, this is the moment where faith meets movement, where obedience meets supply. God often speaks not through loud proclamations, but through quiet, steady restoration that brings clarity to a weary heart. What has been prepared is already waiting in peace, fully set in place. Chosen one, you are not here because of boredom or a wandering scroll. You are here because heaven has deemed the season of silence complete. What seemed like isolation was refinement. What appeared as delay was protection. I know this because I have walked seasons where the quiet was so intense it forced me to confront my own character when no one was applauding. Those seasons strip away distractions, but they also anchor you. They teach you to stand without validation, breathe without reassurance, and trust God when circumstances remain still. That is where you were formed, where your discernment was honed. And now, that formation is no longer hidden. The unveiling ahead is not chaotic, it is ordered elevation. Heaven is not rushing because what is coming must endure. The one being prepared for you is rich not only in presence, but in substance, tempered through their own seasons of pruning, having learned the cost of obedience and discipline of restraint. When God speaks of wealth, it is not limited to finances. It encompasses emotional depth, spiritual maturity, and the ability to build without domination. True abundance arrives quietly, steadily, and safely. I have witnessed what happens when connection comes prematurely. Chemistry mistaken for calling, excitement confused for alignment. It always leads to exhaustion. What is different now is that you no longer chase what drains you. You have learned to listen to the signals of your body, the tension in your chest, the subtle unease that whispers before harm occurs. That wisdom did not grow from comfort. It grew from survival. And the person being sent to you recognizes that instinct immediately. Your strength will not intimidate them. It will feel familiar. Your boundaries will not provoke offense. They will honor them, having built their own. Chosen one, this connection is not meant to rescue you. You were never designed to rely on another human for salvation. It is meant to walk beside you, amplifying what God has already placed within you. I remember realizing for the first time that true partnership does not feel like adrenaline. It feels like peace. It does not demand performance. It invites presence. This is what heaven is aligning for you now. Someone who pours from overflow, not obligation, who supports vision without controlling it. Wealth in their hands is not a weapon. It is a tool. God entrusts tools only to those who can steward them without losing their soul. Anointed one, relocation and movement are not solely about geography. They are about atmosphere. Sometimes God moves you because the environment that once sustained you can no longer nurture who you are becoming. I have had to leave spaces that once felt like home because my spirit began to suffocate there. Familiarity can quietly become a ceiling. When discomfort arises, it is not punishment, it is instruction. Heaven is repositioning you so your roots can deepen and your reach can extend further. The person entering your life may serve as part of that bridge, or the shift may come through an opportunity, assignment, or quiet prompting. Either way, it is intentional. Scripture illustrates this pattern repeatedly. Abraham moved before multiplication. Joseph was repositioned before authority found him. Ruth stepped into unfamiliar land before alignment met her obedience. This is not instability, it is inheritance in motion. I know the fear of leaving what is known, and I know the fear of leaving what is known, and I know the grief of releasing people and places with history, but what awaits carries capacity. You are not being uprooted to wander, you are being replanted to flourish. Chosen one, purpose is now meeting purpose. This union is rooted not in fantasy, but in assignment. You were never meant to build small, and building large requires someone who understands weight, who can pray when the blueprint is unclear, who has learned to stand alone without growing hard. This is not merely romance, it is legacy in seed form. And legacy does not rush. It rests in divine timing, steady, deliberate, and unforced. Chosen one, what God is aligning for you now is not a relationship built on excitement, fleeting attraction, or surface-level compatibility. It is alignment forged through pressure, patience, and obedience. The person being prepared for you has learned to endure seasons of scarcity without bitterness, to steward what little they had without compromise, and to wait without surrendering their values. Their wealth, spiritual, emotional, and material, will be intentional, calm, and steady. Understand this deeply. Wealth without maturity always brings destruction first. I have seen people receive what they were unprepared to carry, and it exposed them rather than blessed them. God is never careless with destiny. When He entrusts someone with influence, resources, or authority, it is because their inner life has already been ordered. Your soulmate has been trained in private. They have learned when to speak, when to remain silent, how to protect peace when ego demands performance, and how to say no even when saying yes would gain applause. Anointed one, your discernment is more vital now than ever. You are no longer impressed by words alone. You listen for tone, observe consistency, and notice how people treat those who cannot benefit them. That wisdom is born of experience, and the one being sent to you carries the same awareness. When you meet, there will be recognition. Not because everything is flawless, but because everything feels grounded. You will not need to convince them of your worth. They will see it in your rhythm, your choices, your calm. This connection will not pull you from God. It will draw you closer. It will not distract from purpose. It will sharpen it. The right partner does not compete with assignment. They protect it. Love is responsibility, stewardship, the daily choice to build rather than consume. Their wealth will not elevate ego. It will unlock doors, create margin where stress once lived, and fund vision without pressure. God does not release resources dumbly. He does so strategically. You are not being sent a savior. You already have one. You are being sent a collaborator, someone who can stand beside you without shrinking or overpowering, someone who knows how to lead and listen. There is a difference between admiration and understanding. Many have admired your strength. Few understood its cost. The one being prepared for you sees both. They recognize the warrior behind the calm, understanding that softness is discipline, not weakness. When they pour into you, it will feel natural. When they support you, it will feel secure. Anointed one, this is why heaven waited. Certain doors remained closed, not to punish, but to form you into someone who could recognize alignment without chasing it. And the person being prepared was also being shaped to provide without controlling. This is not coincidence, it is convergence. Two paths refined separately are now intentionally intersecting. This is more than love entering your life. This is partnership entering your assignment. The foundation has been strengthened enough to carry what is coming next. Chosen one, relocation is not a threat. It is a signal. When God stirs restlessness in your spirit, it rarely reflects mere dissatisfaction. It reflects capacity. The environment that once nurtured you can no longer contain who you are becoming. I recall realizing that comfort can quietly morph into confinement. Everything may appear stable externally, but internally, your spirit feels compressed. That sensation is not rebellion, it is instruction. God uses discomfort to guide growth, and relocation often begins subtly. A quiet nudge, a sense of misfit, conversations that no longer nourish, fatigue that rest cannot cure. That is not burnout, that is transition. Heaven is preparing to shift your coordinates to align with your elevation, and elevation always requires new ground. Chosen one, you are not being asked to abandon your past. You are being asked to honor it by not living there any longer. Every season served a purpose. Every place taught you lessons. Staying beyond the assignment transforms blessing into limitation. God is calling you into environments that expand faith, sharpen gifts, and widen influence. This move may involve physical space, but it will always involve mindset. Old patterns must be released. Old attachments reassessed, old ceilings broken. The one being aligned with you may play a role, not as a rescuer, but as a bridge. Sometimes God sends people who carry vision and access. They understand movement because they have obeyed it before. They respect change rather than fear it. But even if the relocation comes via opportunity, assignment, or sudden prompting, it remains God-led. Nothing about this season is random. Scripture shows this rhythm again and again. Abraham moved before multiplication. Joseph was relocated before authority arrived. Ruth entered new land before alignment met her obedience. Movement always precedes manifestation. I know leaving familiar ground can hurt, and releasing history carries grief. But what awaits provides provision the old place could never offer. This is not instability. It is divine mobility. You are not being uprooted to wander. You are being replanted to flourish. The soil ahead is fertile, the atmosphere lined, and the space is prepared with you in mind. You will breathe differently there, think differently, and build differently, and build differently. The unfamiliar will feel familiar, because heaven has already approved it. This relocation is not escape. It is expansion. It positions you where your gifts are required, not merely tolerated. Where your voice carries weight, your presence is valued, and your assignment can fully unfold. God is not moving you to complicate life. He is moving you because the next two-level demands a new environment. Chosen one, what is ahead is not chaos. It is order. It is alignment, the natural result of obedience meeting timing. As this movement unfolds, you will realize nothing was wasted. Every delay, every closed door, every silent season prepared you for this shift. You are not late. You are precisely on time. There comes a moment in every unfolding when the promise is evident, but progress feels slow. Faith is no longer fueled by excitement, but by memory. This is not the season of noise. It is the season of quiet faithfulness, where endurance shapes you in ways that miracles alone cannot. What you carry now is not doubt. It is weight. And weight only comes when something significant has been entrusted to you. Anointed one, the waiting you endure is not empty time. It is active soil. I know the fatigue that settles when days feel repetitive, when prayers echo without apparent response, when the breakthrough you know is coming seems delayed. I have lived in seasons where obedience appeared mundane, where faith meant showing up without feeling carried, and hope was practiced as discipline, not thrill. Though seasons taught a lasting truth, God does not always strengthen by adding new elements. Sometimes He strengthens by bringing you back to what already sustained you. Chosen one, your fatigue does not signal failure. You are human. The promise does not require constant intensity, it requires consistency. Many believe faith must feel dramatic to be effective, but the strongest faith often feels quiet, grounded, almost ordinary. It rises daily, does its work, trusts without seeking affirmation, and maintains composure even when emotions fluctuate. There were days I felt neither prophetic nor inspired. I felt present, willing, anchored, and that was enough. Heaven measures faith not by spectacle, but by steadiness under pressure. Your continued prayer, essence, alignment, integrity, and refusal to settle confirm that the work within you is taking hold. Anointed One, this season calls you to remember. Remember the moments when God carried you through what should have broken you, the doors that closed to protect you, and the strength that appeared when support disappeared. Memory is not nostalgia, it is fuel. When waiting stretches long, remembrance sustains the vision without forcing it. Long seasons tempt us to chase emotion, seek signs, and search for confirmation in noise. But God matures promises in stillness. Growth often occurs quietly, roots deepen unseen, foundations strengthen without display. You are not ignored, you are being established. Chosen one, endurance is active, deliberate trust, exercised daily. It is choosing alignment when impatience whispers shortcuts, obedience when results are unseen, peace when anxiety predicts the future. Faith under pressure is less about declarations and more about restraint, less about striving and more about staying. There will be days when all you can do is return. Return to prayer without performance. Return to stillness without expectation. Return to truths already known. That return is not regression, it is reinforcement. Heaven is not offended by returning to fundamentals. Faith is lived, not performed. A quiet reminder rests beneath the noise, steady and constant, guiding you when distractions rise. Chosen one, what you are waiting for has not slowed. It has been perfectly paced. Delay does not mean denial, it signals development. You are being shaped into someone who can receive without losing balance, move without rushing, and build without burning out. The promise ahead requires endurance because it must endure long after arrival. The days you feel unseen are often when God strengthens your inner life. The nights you feel alone are when discernment sharpens. You are relearning to trust without constant affirmation. That is maturity. That is preparation. Do not despise the ordinary rhythm of faith. Waking, showing up, quiet prayers, disciplined choices, resting instead of panicking. These are not pauses, they are the journey itself, building within you something resilient enough to sustain the promise when it manifests. Chosen one, you are closer than you feel, not because drama approaches, but because stability within you has been established to receive what has been forming all along. Stay anchored, present, and faithful in the small acts of obedience. Heaven is observing not to test you, but to confirm your readiness to carry what is already moving toward you. When the next shift occurs, you will recognize it not by chaos, but by peace. Chosen one, there comes a point when the promise no longer excites the way it once did, not because it has lost power, but because it has settled into your bones. This is the stage where faith stops reaching outward and begins standing inward. You wait no longer with desperation, but with discernment. That shift matters more than you realize, because heaven responds differently to desperation than to readiness. You are learning to remain open without anxiety, expectant without demanding, and patient without panic. I know the feeling of reaching the end of yourself before the season concludes, when you think, I believe this, but I am exhausted carrying it alone. That is not weakness, it is honesty. God does not withdraw because of your honesty. He draws closer. The weight you feel is not a push to perform. It is a responsibility of stewardship. You are holding something that must be protected, not rushed. You are learning to wait without pausing life, to remain faithful without suspending joy, to live fully while trusting God for what has not yet arrived. That balance is rare. Many either stopped caving during waiting, or abandon faith when waiting becomes uncomfortable. You are doing neither. You are building a life that can receive the promise without collapsing under it. Chosen one, this season is cultivating emotional sobriety. You no longer chase highs to confirm God's presence. You recognize Him in the steady, consistent, uneventful rhythms of life. I remember realizing that God was most present in my life during mundane seasons. No signs, no breakthroughs, just alignment in daily choices. That realization transformed how I waited forever. You are being strengthened to recognize timing without forcing outcomes, trust movement without controlling direction, and allow things to unfold without micromanaging every detail. This is not passive faith. This is mature faith. It knows when to act and when to remain still. It listens before reacting, waits without losing hope. Anointed one, the love being aligned for you will not arrive to rescue you from exhaustion. It will meet you in stability. That is why this part of the journey matters. You are learning to regulate expectations, honor energy, and protect peace, ensuring that alignment enhances life rather than adding burden. You are also learning to release timelines that were never promised. God did not commit to your schedule. He committed to your becoming. Your becoming required patience, seasons where outward movement seemed absent, but inward transformation was happening. Those seasons are not wasted. They are foundational. Chosen one, notice how much calmer you are now compared to before. You no longer spiral, attach worth to outcomes, or feel compelled to explain yourself to those out of alignment. That is evidence of growth, proof that preparation is manifesting in behavior, not emotion. This part of the journey asks you to keep exercising faith without needing proof, to continue walking without applause, to believe without reassurance. It may not feel glamorous, but it is powerful. Heaven trusts those who can wait without recklessness or resentment. What is coming will not demand abandoning the life you have built while waiting. It will integrate seamlessly into it. That is the reward of endurance. You do not lose yourself. You become more fully yourself. When the promise manifests, you will recognize it not through shock, but through alignment. It will fit naturally, feel familiar, and be experienced as earned, stewarded, and not simply given. Stay steady, rooted, and honest with God. You are not behind. You are being held in place until everything else aligns. As the season shifts, subtle changes will occur inside you. Urgency fades, not because the promise is gone, but because your spirit has learned to rest while waiting. This is where trust deepens beyond words. You no longer rehearse the promise to convince yourself. You carry it quietly, confident that what is aligned does not need chasing. Anointed one, this is where surrender becomes authentic, not surrender as giving up, but surrender as release. You release the need to control how, when, or through whom it happens. This release is not a loss of faith. It is faith refined. I recall the moment I stopped asking God to hurry and began asking Him to prepare me to receive. Everything shifted. Peace replaced pressure. Clarity replaced anxiety. You are learning to trust God with your future while honoring responsibility in the present. That balance is rare. Many mistake surrender for disengagement. True surrender is active. It shows up, remains aligned, and obeys even when outcomes are unclear. That is your posture now. There is also a deeper cleansing taking place. Old attachments are loosening, outdated expectations dissolving, and previous narratives of how life should look quietly falling away. This is not loss, it is refinement. God is removing what would interfere with alignment, simplifying your inner world, so that when the promise arrives, it finds space, not resistance. You may experience grief for the life you imagined, but never lived, and that grief is allowed. It honors the journey. Do not confuse it with regret. Nothing was wasted. Even paths that did not lead where you expected taught discernment, resilience, and humility. Qualities that will protect the future you are stepping into. Anointed One, the connection being prepared for you, will not demand real-time healing. It will meet you in wholeness, not perfection, but honesty. You will not need to explain boundaries. They will recognize them. You will not have to justify your pace. They will respect it. This is why surrender matters now. It clears space for recognition, not negotiation. You are also learning to receive without guilt, to accept blessings without questioning worth, and to allow good things without bracing for loss. That is not easy for those trained in survival before stability, but God blesses not to test, but to cultivate trust. This season prepares your nervous system as much as your spirit. You are learning to remain calm in anticipation, not hypervigilant. When God prepares something significant, He often quiets the soul first, not to confuse, but to stabilize. You are becoming less reactive, less hurried, less consumed by what has not happened yet. That is not complacency, it is confidence forming. As surrender deepens, obedience becomes simpler. You no longer ask 100 questions before moving. You listen for alignment, respond to peace, and not pressure. That shift means you are ready to enter what sea owns next without resistance. Chosen One, this is not the end of waiting, but the end of striving. What remains is trust practiced daily, faith lived quietly, and surrender held steadily. When the promise arrives, it will not disrupt your life. It will integrate seamlessly. That is the sign of divine timing. Remain faithful, present, aligned. Heaven does not ask for more. It asks for steady alignment. As you move deeper into alignment, what once felt uncertain will now feel inevitable, not rushed, not forced, simply certain. This is the quiet confidence that emerges when faith has been tested and proven. You no longer question whether God will come through. You live as if He already has. This stage calls for discernment more than declaration. Not everything approaching you is meant to walk with you. As the promise nears, options increase, voices grow louder, invitations multiply. Clarity comes not from abundance of choices, but from knowing which to decline. Alignment is recognized by how your spirit responds, not by appearances. What is meant for you arrives calmly, providing space to pray, sense, and breathe. Boundaries are strengthened, not walls, but clarity. You no longer explain yourself to those who misunderstand your season. You no longer overextend to prove value. Distraction may appear as good opportunities or familiar patterns. You are here to complete cycles, not repeat them. Trust your awareness. God speaks through peace, restraint, hesitation, calm. You are no longer second-guessing as much. That is growth, internal alignment, manifesting externally. Stay grounded. Heaven often unfolds in layers. What comes next builds upon what you have already established, not replaces it. Love, relocation, resources, elevation, they will integrate, not overwhelm. Your ordinary choices now, time management, self-care, speech, prepare you to sustain blessing. Just attract it. Impatience may rise, but pause. It is fatigue speaking, not intuition. What is meant for you will not demand compromise or abandon integrity. It meets you whole, not desperate. Quiet readiness precedes release. The final shift will not crash into your life. It will confirm. Recognition comes through familiarity, not surprise. The connection, movement, provision. They meet you where you are stable, or are present, aware, grounded. The greatest confirmations are calm recognitions, where everything fits without explanation. Faith, purpose, calling, environment, all integrate. Nothing pulls you from who you are, it expands you within it. Honor the pace God sets. Speed is not always favor. Blessing is stewarded, not interrogated. Legacy is tangible. Choices now shape environments and relationships that influence your assignment and others connected to it. Heaven's timing has been intentional. You are not late. You are aligned. You are held in place until everything matches. This journey has shaped you to recognize home. Not a place, but alignment. Not perfection, but peace. When it comes, you will know. Everything that led you here mattered, and everything ahead is accounted for. Chosen one, this is your appointed moment. Preparation meets promise, obedience meets fulfillment. Connection, clarity, stability, provision. Receive these blessings as a seal over your season. Walk forward in peace, expectancy, and gratitude, knowing what God sends arrives without confusion and remains without strain.